into the future where the glass is half full and you'll need new glasses, where you'll be jumping from conclusions.
The past is annulled and a new future is born.
Never before in history has so much meant so little to so many. AD on the radio.
So you will never believe who has weighed in on the idea, the highly politicized, divisive idea of net neutrality. Now, ordinarily, you would expect folks like, well, people in positions of power in maybe the media or politics to talk about this hot button issue. And in case you did not know, there's an act, well, not an act, but there's a movement right now to repeal net neutrality. Net neutrality is, well, give us the rundown really quickly. For those that don't know, Travis, go lightly. What are the cliff notes of the net neutrality situation?
It's the concept that all internet traffic should be treated the same, that you shouldn't be able to speed up and slow down, what they call traffic shaping. You shouldn't be able to speed up and slow down traffic with agreements with content providers. People pay you more and you make sure that their traffic gets to the internet users first. It's the concept that all traffic is created and treated equally. Mm-hmm.
And the argument against net neutrality, I think for a lot of people, at least in America, comes from a place of, hey, this is the free market. These people that own the infrastructure through which we get our internet access have the right to do whatever the hell they want with it, because this is America, not Red China. This isn't commie Russia. You know, they get to do what they want with it because laissez-faire capitalism and politics guarantees them the right to do that as Americans. That's sort of the argument against net neutrality. Neutral is sort of a word that in this instance smacks of socialism, communism, perhaps. And for that reason, it's become the target of conservatives everywhere. It's an interesting one. But you'll never believe who weighed in on the net neutrality debate. Apparently, like I said, not a member of the media, not a politician. Apparently, he just wants it his way. Burger King is all about net neutrality at the moment. Yeah, the fast food chain has explained that the repeal of net neutrality is a hot topic in America, but it can be very difficult to understand. That's why the Burger King brand created Whopper Neutrality. Are they just kind of like jumping on this for the sake of trying to shill hamburgers? Is that it?
I don't know what it is. And it's really interesting because I watched the video. The video is on YouTube, and the video is actually, it's really funny, and it makes you think about it in a certain sort of way. It definitely pushes their feeling, which is the importance of neutrality. But it does make you think about it, in a really interesting way. I'm not sure what their benefit or their gain is. Maybe they see it's a hot topic and they want to bring their name out to get the attention, which I don't blame them.
I mean, it's cool. You know what? I think it has to have been inspired by Taco Bell doing their Illuminati commercials. Have you seen those?
Yes, I have. And I'll tell you, I tried the stacker. I try so hard to avoid fast food, but I'm not going to lie to you. I see these things, especially when I'm on the tugboat, and I'm like, the day I get back on land, I have to try this. I'm like, I tried the stacker and it was delicious. Oh my God, I loved it. But their commercials are hilarious. Yes.
It's interesting because Taco Bell, I love Taco Bell. Like, I love Taco Bell. But have you ever heard this theory that it's something called the bliss point? It's sort of on the flip side, another sort of conspiracy theory about the food industry and how they're trying to keep us fat and sick and addicted to their food. Have you heard about this idea of the bliss point?
I have not heard. Actually, I've heard the name. I don't know much about it. I think I've heard you talk about it before, but I don't think you talked about it to me. And I think you were talking about it with Funkhauser. Right. And I think that's the first time I'd ever even heard the concept. And I wouldn't put it past him. I mean, the same concept, I wouldn't put it past tobacco companies from trying to get you hooked on tobacco. That's the ultimate goal, is to get you hooked on any kind of, any product that you're selling so that you feel like you can't live without it.
I love Taco Bell, and I haven't had it in a while. But what's interesting is I really hadn't had it in a while, about a year and a half ago. And I was like, there's a Taco Bell right by the radio station. I'm hungry. I used to like this stuff when I was a kid. Let's give it a go. And I had a grilled stuffed burrito. And I was like, nah, it wasn't as good as I remember it being. And then I was like, hold on a second. the next day I was like, I got to have another grilled stuffed burrito. I was like, I didn't even enjoy it that much the first time. I actually sort of was kind of disappointed. And so I had another one, went not as good as I was hoping for. And the next day I wanted more. I was like, wow, this idea of food being addictive. And for those that don't know, the bliss point is this idea that there are scientists on the payrolls of food manufacturing companies, fast food companies, that figure out just enough salt, grease, sugar, whatever it is, to the perfect amount of that stuff to put into food, which is going to make your body respond in a way where it's bliss. You have an actual sort of like physical reaction. Blood rushes to parts of the body that make you feel good. Chemicals get released from your brain, and you go, I like this. This is good. And it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the taste. It's got to do with the amount of salt, fat, and sugar in stuff. And apparently they basically go up to a level where your body would go, this is horrible for me. I am not interested. And they back it down just enough to where your body goes, oh, this is awesome. Now, like I said, I don't know if there's proven science behind this. A lot of people say it is. A lot of people say it should be made illegal because basically people are trying to manufacture addictive foods. But I Taco Bell keep me coming back for more. But I have to imagine that the brilliant Taco Bell Illuminati commercials are what inspired Burger King to get in on it, because they're like, oh man, you know, we gotta, there's a new season of X-Files out. How do we exploit the government conspiracy angle?
Real radio
104.1. Where the left and right come together for fundamental truths. AD on the radio, on Twitter at ADSXE.
So all my right-wing radio honk talk friends, like all the people that take a very firm position on things of this nature, are basically convinced that Burger King is shilling for net neutrality in an unbelievably lame attempt to pander to millennials. Now, I don't know if I necessarily feel that way, but I'm a little nonplussed by the fact that the Burger King decided to weigh in on the idea of net neutrality. Usually hot button political issues, you don't look for the local fast food restaurant to tell you how to think, vote, or try and educate you on these matters. But nevertheless, Burger King has done exactly that. The fast food chain explained that the repeal of net neutrality is a hot topic in America, but it can be very difficult to understand. That's why the Burger King brand created Whopper Neutrality, a social experiment that explains the effects of the repeal of net neutrality by putting it in terms anyone can understand. A Whopper sandwich. This effort aims to help people understand how the repeal of net neutrality will impact their lives. The Burger King brand believes the internet should be like the Whopper sandwich, the same for everyone. The punchline in their videos that customers who want a Whopper hyper fast must fork over $26 while the standard price is slow.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
Now, I'm very, very. That's sort of, what is it? It's kind of like. It's one of those expressions that I hate. There's a few expressions that people start using that people have started using a lot over the last couple of years that I just can't freaking stand. Tone deaf is one of them. Like, can you talk about tone deaf? They couldn't, like basically saying someone is tone deaf means they don't necessarily realize the current climate we're living in. It'd be like someone who makes an off-color joke about something related to the Me Too movement, and people go, they're so tone deaf, they don't understand. How could they be? You know that expression? I
haven't heard it. But now when I do hear it, I'll understand what it means, because I would be completely in the dark on that one.
You would have been tone deaf to the meaning of tone deaf. So there you go. I think, what would people call this? It's not pandering. It's humble bragging. No, it's not humble bragging, although. Like, I
do know that one.
Yeah, when people humble brag, that's a very unattractive trait. It's similar to name dropping, but you don't necessarily need a name to drop. You just need to be like, oh yeah, that's just a thing I did. Whatever. It's
I'm good friends with a senator who would agree with you. Just so you know.
Are you really?
No. Well, I do. I don't want to humble brag or anything, but I do have friends in Congress. But no,
I was so tone deaf to that. That was very funny.
I was just trying
No. Okay. Oh, this is what Burger King are like. Okay. The detractors of this particular, if you want a Whopper hyper fast, you got to pay $26 while the standard price is slow. This is, what's the expression? And I hate this one too. Virtue signaling. Virtue signaling. And oh man, like people on the right and the left attack the opposition with this one all the time. Oh, they're just virtue signaling. They're trying to make it seem like they're smart and good and have a conscience. They're trying to signal their virtues in a humble brag sort of way by doing this. Virtue signaling by Burger King. And bottom line is, do they think this is going to help them sell more more delicious Whoppers? Probably, and that's probably why they're doing it. I don't think Burger King give a flying fig about net neutrality, really. Although Burger King are such a massive company that anything that look, we live in a digital era. We live in a digital era where everything from a business standpoint, it doesn't matter who you are or where you work. Chances are people want things from you now, immediately, if not sooner. And if you deal with large pieces of data, or if you deal Travis and I, we've got to send massive high quality audio files all over the country at the speed of light. And if we don't have a decent sort of internet connection, then that becomes very, very difficult. So, for a massive company like Burger King, they might have a vested interest in the speed of their internet, not wanting to pay more for it. But not only that,
but you have to keep in mind, they should have a vested interest in it, because without net neutrality, it gives companies like internet service providers the right to make a deal with one of their competitors, such as McDonald's, and say, you know what, McDonald's, you pay us $5 million a year, and we will make sure that we slow down all of Burger King's traffic, or make it where their website won't load on any of our customers' computers, and we will make sure that yours flies. So, they have a vested interest to be very, very concerned about net neutrality. No matter how you feel about it, if you're for it or against it, it is important to understand that what the possibilities are without net neutrality.
Burger King don't care. They're Canadians now. They bought that.
They are Tim Hortons.
Yeah, they bought Tim Hortons, and now they're now they're in vaguely commie Canada. So it's like
it's true.
All they have to do is keep their internet servers, headquartered in Toronto, and none of this matters to them anymore. But yeah, and you know what? You're totally right. People are going to be affected by the idea of net neutrality in one way or another. It means something. A lot of people don't fully understand it. A lot of people don't necessarily grasp it. A lot of people don't understand how it's going to affect their daily life. And for large businesses like Burger King, you're exactly right. The speed of their credit card transactions could slow down. And if the speed of their credit card transactions slow down, they ultimately wind up serving a couple less people at every single Burger King restaurant all over America. And you know what? You add that up over the course of a year, that's significant. So, they care about this stuff. It's important to them. But I still don't believe that the idea of Burger King's campaign related to net neutrality has anything other to do than anything to do with anything other than selling delicious burgers. And where would you put, all right, fast food burgers, Travis Golightly, where would you rank Burger King?
I would say, and I'm not one of those cultish people. I like In-N-Out. I like it just fine. I think it's a good burger. I think probably Whataburger is better than In-N-Out, in my opinion.
Whataburger is a Texas thing, and I got to tell you, I moved to Texas from New York City, and everyone's like, "We got to go get Whataburger," and I sort of didn't get it. I was like, "It's okay. It's not. I'm not doing jumping jacks about this stuff. It's just okay." And then something about Whataburger hit me a little later on. Like, I'd probably been living in Texas for about 7 years, and I was like, oh my God, I got to get Whataburger. It's so freaking good. Freaking good. And I think Whataburger, maybe I'm romanticizing Whataburger, but I think they put less crap in it. I think it's more sort of it's less salted, it's fresher, it's, there's less additives. It does
seem that way. It does seem, but I would say a Whopper. I love a Whopper. I would say it's probably right under, I would say it goes Whataburger, In-N-Out, and then a Burger King Whopper, in my opinion.
I have a conspiracy theory about Whataburger, which I'm going to share with you next.
Money making, skills on the mic, getting paid every day, and you're part of the battle, just battle. more stimulation and less irritation, 9 out of 10 doctors choose KPRC AM 950, Houston's more stimulating talk radio.
Don't get the blues, get all the news. We mean all of you guys out there in Radioland. All aboard!
He's back. AD on the radio.
Give it up, yeah. Give it up, yeah. Bring this on, come on, come on.
So the fact that they're campaigning for net neutrality aside, where again would you rank Burger King in the sort of in your hierarchy of fast food burgers?
I would say that it would probably be Whataburger first, In-N-Out a close second, and then a Burger King Whopper would be my third choice. And don't get me wrong, I won't. Man, I'll tell you what, I try not to eat fast food. I try so hard not to because, it's, you know why. But it's just one of those things that when I see that 2 for $6 Whopper deal, I'll go get them and I'll eat both of them in one sitting. I love Whoppers. They're just delicious.
And McDonald's doesn't even figure in for you?
Mickey D's is down there, but it's one of those things. If I go to Mickey D's, I'm not getting an expensive burger. I'm going dollar menu, and I'll get the crispy chicken sandwich with Big Mac sauce instead of
you're absolutely right. I can't think of a time where I went to McDonald's over the last 10 years where I didn't get dollar menu. I
will tell you, they changed up their value menu, and they offer a new chicken sandwich. I don't know if you remember.
I've had that new chicken sandwich.
Yes, I liked it. It's really good.
Yeah.
It looks like a real piece of chicken. It doesn't look like, the little patty that the hot and spicy is. But is it worth $3? No, I could get 3 hot and spicies for that.
Right. Yeah, it's important to do this fast food math when you're considering what about Wendy's? Where does that figure in?
You know what? Wendy's is one of those things that's a convenience deal. The marina where I keep my sailboat, my closest like fast food joint is a Wendy's. And Wendy's isn't bad. It's not bad at all. It's probably above. I didn't like them for the longest time because they have the hamburgers with the square patties, and I thought that was weird. But I would say it's above McDonald's, below Burger King.
It's by the way, feel free to join in. At ADSXE is where you can tweet me. What is your favorite fast food burger? Do you like? All right. How much time can we burn talking about fast food? Now I'm hungry. See, I told you they do stuff to get you addicted to this stuff. What about Chick-fil-A?
Chick-fil-A, I almost don't consider fast food because it's so expensive. But I know.
So I don't know if you were working at the radio station at the time, but Chick-fil-A were a really big client, and some of us were working with them, some of us weren't. But one glorious year, every single one of us that was on air in Houston got what's called a Chick-fil-A black card. Have you ever seen this?
I have. I saw it on some radio DJ's Instagram the other day. And yeah. I know who. I think it was my friend Linda V, and it was on hers, I believe. And it said it had her name on it, and she's like, "Oh my God, I just got my black card." And I was like, "What is this?
Yeah,
and why don't I know about it?"
Yeah, it's funny because it basically gets you one free meal at Chick-fil-A every day for a year. Which is a really, really significant thing. Like, it's an unbelievably cool thing. I've never gotten anything from a job. I think that might be the single greatest job perk I've ever had, was the 1 year that I got a Chick-fil-A black card. But it's funny. I remember eating a late dinner at an IHOP after some radio station appearance, and I went to pay for it, and the waitress sees in my wallet, she's like, "You got a black card, baller." I was like, "Oh, no, this is a Chick-fil-A black card." She's like, "What does that do?" And I was like, "It gets me, actually, it is kind of cool. It gets me free Chick-fil-A every day for a year." And she was like, "You really shouldn't have shown me that. I am that much more likely to mug you in the parking lot for that than an actual black card."
No kidding. Yeah. I was going to say that's the more impressive black card in my opinion. I've seen, what is it? Is it the American Express black card that is the real thick? It's like the nicest credit card you could ever get.
I think they make it out of like some form of metal. I think they might have said it's titanium, and you actually don't have to, in the grand scheme of things, spend that much money on it. I think you have to spend like $100,000 a year. So it's not for like bazillionaires, but you got to pay for it. I think it's like there's however much of a fee, and then you must be spending at least $100,000 a year on it, which, you know, look, is obviously nothing to sneeze at. But if you're one of those people that runs every last one of your expenses through your credit card or your American Express card, or if you're one of those people that maybe runs your business, you know, like if you've got a small business and you run it on there. So I actually knew a bunch of people that had an American Express Black card, and I was like, whoa. And they're like, it's really just because I put all my business expenses on it. Like, I'm not spending enough to justify it. But even if I was, it's not a bazillionaire card, but it's totally like a, hey, check out what I got type of status signal.
I'm still more impressed by the Chick-fil-A Black card.
It's humble bragging and virtue signaling when you pull out your Black card.
Would it be humble bragging only if you accidentally drop it on the counter while you're trying to grab like a gift card and you're like, oh, I'm so sorry, that one slipped out. Could you hand me my Black card back, please?
What I'm trying to say is I make a lot of money. I got to tell you, I have a conspiracy theory about Whataburger, and I would say that when I'm in Texas, that goes to the top of my list. Now, if I'm in New York and there is a White Castle around, total game changer. But you got to be in the right mood for White Castle. White Castle, in case you're not familiar with it, they're these little steamed sliders, and you can eat like 20 of them and feel like you've had nothing. But they're really simple. There's not much on them. It's sort of like they don't dress it up. They don't do it. I think maybe you can get them with cheese, but like, For a second, they had like this promotion in New York City, the Roma Tomato Burger. A Roma Tomato is not the best tomato. It's just not. It's a little bit cheaper. There's nothing wrong with it. I love all tomatoes. Tomatoes are freaking delicious. But it was like a little teeny burger in a bun with nothing else on it other than one slice of Roma tomato. And people lost their minds for it. Like, if you're like me, you think that the best food, and by the way, I'm aware of the irony of comparing sort of the best food to White Castle, home of the belly bomber. But if you're like me, you think the best food is simple food done right. Like, if you have pasta sauce, like, I don't like a bazillion things in red pasta sauce. And when it's done right, it's just tomato, oil, maybe a little salt. That's it.
Yes.
That is it. But it's got to be done right. And I know I can't do it right, but I've tasted it before when other people do it right, and it's the best freaking thing ever. And the White Castle Roma Tomato Burger kind of has that going for it. It's like, why is this so special? Why do I want 20 of these? It's just like a teeny piece of beef with some bread and a slice of not very good tomato, but I must have more. I want. But here's the thing. I've got this theory that, and by the way, were you around when my dad came to live with me, Travis, when he needed a heart procedure, and he had congestive heart failure. Now, congestive heart failure, for those that don't know, you are required to monitor the amount of fluid in you at all times, because if you don't, you could be in big trouble. And for that reason, salt is a bad thing when you've got congestive heart failure, because salt causes you to retain water. You get too much water in your body, and like I said, it's not good times. So when my father was living with me, had to purge the house of salt. And I don't know if I had a lot of salt on things before, or maybe I just got weaned off of it, but I got accustomed to not putting salt on things. And after my dad moved out, after everything was all fine, he was all good, he was headed home, I was like, oh, you know what I can do now? I can have that fast food burger I've been craving. And I didn't want to put my dad in a lousy place. So I was like, Dad, I'll eat this unbelievably bland, unsalted food with you. No worries. And I went out and I don't even remember which restaurant it was from, quite frankly. So I'm not going to put one specific place on blast, but I got a burger and I was so excited, and I bit down and I had to spit it out.
Really?
Tastes, oh my God. You know, when you go in the ocean and a wave rolls you, and you get water up your nose and it goes into the back of your throat, and you feel like you got a mouthful of ocean water?
Yeah.
That's what it was like, taking a bite of this fast food burger after not really having eaten any additional salt for about a year and a half. It was,
I love salt. I absolutely love salt. However, I will say that I've done the same thing, like tried to wean myself off salt, and oh my God, my blood pressure, like I had like not high blood pressure, but elevated blood pressure. My blood pressure dropped back to normal ranges and stuff. Like, I love salt more than the next guy, but I'm a big believer that cutting down, minimizing salt, or getting rid of salt, I think it can do so many good things for you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it did good things for me. I just know that all of a sudden, and it's funny, I've got a buddy who's sort of like, weightlifting guy, has won bodybuilding championships. He's a personal trainer. He was actually like my personal trainer for a little bit before I knew what the hell I was up to in the gym. And I remember once he was going to come and we were going to go to the gym, and he couldn't. He was like, "Sorry, man, I got to bail." I was like, "Why? What? This is unprofessional of you. What's going on?" Right. And he's like, "I know, but a friend of mine had a celebration last night, and we went out for Chinese food, and I ate a bunch of it, and it had all this salt and MSG in it, and now I've got a horrible, horrible headache." And I was just, he was like, "I've got a migraine, and I literally can't leave the room or turn the lights on." And I was just like, wow, maybe it's good to eat a little bit of junk food every now and then. Because if you get to the point where, like a bowl of lo mein kicks your ass for a day, like maybe eating totally clean and being healthy is not necessarily the most practical thing. But nevertheless, I did want to really cut down on salty stuff because it just tasted like garbage to me. And I found that Whataburger, I think this is when I started getting into Whataburger. And if you're not in a place in the South where they have Whataburger, please make a trip somewhere where they've got it. It's not all over the country. I think it's predominantly in the South. Do they have them in Florida, Travis? Do the people that listen
do have them
Palm
in
Beach
Florida,
and Orlando?
yes.
Yeah, so I think they've got them there. And they're really, really good. But I noticed that I didn't get the same sort of like, I got a mouthful of brine sensation when I ate a Whataburger burger. So that kind of sort of became my go-to. Now, I'm pretty convinced that Whataburger is fresher, less additives, less salt, less crap, basically, less processed. I think that of all the burger joints, Whataburger might be closer to whole food. Don't quote me on this because I really, really don't know. But the other thing I know is that usually if you have these virtues, if you're fresh, never frozen beef or whatever it is, if you have no additional salt, no MSG, you kind of tend to scream that from the rooftops just because you want the world to know that you're not putting a bunch of additives into your food. However, even if they are using fresh, whole ingredients in Whataburger, I think they're not talking about it because have you ever heard them mention that in their advertising campaigns?
No, I don't think I have. I mean, I know they talk about it being home cooked, that whole concept that it's made how you want it, when you want it. But I don't think in the advertising I've ever heard anything like that. I think like their food tastes the way it does, and I think part of the reason it tastes the way it does is because it's fresher, it's less processed, it's all these things that a lot of other fast food restaurants would use to virtue signal. Your favorite expression. Now I see why people use it. It's fun. But where is Whataburger headquartered and where is it popular? In the great state of Texas. Guess what people in the great state of Texas don't like to have happen to them? They probably don't want to eat like fancy food, right? Well, it's not that. They just don't like to be told in any kind of condescending way that this is better for you than that. It's just like, yes, that is true. The idea of freedom is so hardwired into the DNA of people in Texas, where it's just, if I want to eat saturated, like processed stuff that's going to withstand a Holocaust and still look like a hamburger after it, that's what I'm going to do because this is America and this is freedom. There ain't no government that's going to tell me what I can and can't eat. Yeah. So I get it. So any hint of virtue signaling from Whataburger about how their ingredients are fresher than the competition's, I think would drive the Texan customer base to McDonald's to eat the stuff that they believe is more carcinogenic because it's their God-given right and this is America. That's my theory. And it's, it's incredibly smart of Whataburger to do if that's the case, because, and I'm saying this like it's some sort of a diss. It's not. I just think people in Texas like to make up their own minds. And if they get even a whiff of someone sounding like they're trying to make up their mind for them, then they are out. And it's an interesting thing. Wow. Did we really spend like 15 minutes talking about burgers? I think we did. On the positive side, I looked at a map just because I was kind of curious for you, and Whataburger comes as far west as Phoenix. So I'm not saying I don't know any insider information at Whataburger, but there is a chance. I mean, if they've come as far west as Phoenix, maybe there's a chance that they could come to California at some point.
I mean, here's the thing. Like, Californians swear by In-N-Out Burger. Really, really good burgers. They're really, really good. And Texans swear by Whataburger. And I think if a Californian goes to Texas and has a Whataburger, they'll be like, that's all right. It's not In-N-Out. I like the double animal style, you know. And if a if a Texan goes to California and goes to In-N-Out, they'll be like, I'm just craving a Whata chicken. I think it's one of those things where it's so ingrained in the fabric of your individual society that, you know, your choice of fast food burger feels intensely personal to a lot of people. Not me, but to a lot of people. And hey, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Sometimes you just know you're done. You're longing for that shining sun. You walk these streets most every day. You're waiting to get washed away. Radio. Radio. 104.1.
Now, more AD on the radio.
Back once again, the ill behavior. Delivering and giving my musical savior. Back once again, it's your boy AD, and can't nobody rock a body better than me.
So we are, and you're not going to see the implications of this at first. It just sounds like one of those goofy news stories. But we are kind of screwed. We're kind of completely effed. People are now making unbelievably convincing fake celebrity porn videos using face swapping and AI technology. And you don't have to be a computer expert to do it, because there's at least one app out there that makes it easy enough for just about anyone. Now, this is a fascinating story, and it just sounds sort of goofy to begin with, but like I said, the implications are actually kind of terrifying, especially when you see just how easy this is to do and how unbelievably legit it looks. We'll get into that a little later on in the show. Right now, though, Travis Go Lightly, let us have a look at the events of today. What, pray tell, is going on in the news?
A random guy attacked Flavor Flav at a Las Vegas casino.
When I was a kid, Public Enemy were a very, very, and I do mean very big deal to me. Like, I really, really loved them. Chuck D was a big part of the reason. He shaped my life. I met Chuck D a little while ago, and I can't tell you how difficult it was knowing that my meeting would last 5 minutes tops with him. And I'd interviewed him a couple times before, but it's just, we weren't in the same room, and it's difficult to communicate in the same way when you're not there in person. But I had a couple of minutes to tell him just how much he shaped my life and just how much his music has meant to me. And like, Chuck D was, Public Enemy just in general were a big deal to me. Like, I was this kid that was going to go to music conservatory. I was studying jazz and Latin and classical percussion. I was going to go get my degree and probably wind up a teacher. Maybe if I was really lucky, I could have wound up playing drums in some band. But two people, Tom Waits and Chuck D, made me go, there's a level of being able to communicate that you can't do by hitting stuff, and I want to try. I'm a drummer. I want to try writing songs. I might not be the greatest singer right now, but I think I could rap. And because of Chuck D, I 100% started doing that. And so Public Enemy are like a big, big deal to me. And I managed to tell him that. But Flavor Flav is an interesting character, because Flavor Flav often gets sort of like relegated to the role of a side piece, really. I mean, he is the hype man. He's not the guy out front. He's the guy running around the stage looking kind of crazy going, yeah, boy. He sort of is the archetypal hype man. But a lot of people don't realize Flavor Flav is an unbelievably gifted musician. Like, they're from Long Island, and I lived in Long Island for a while now at various times in my life. One was while we were making an album. And because the guys in Public Enemy, we camped out for like 9 months in Long Island and basically lived in this recording studio. But occasionally the studio next door, other artists would come in. And one time, who comes in but the folks in Public Enemy. Now, I only caught the tail end of this because otherwise I would have rushed there and just sat there going, oh my gosh, you guys are my everything over and over again. I would have had a ridiculous fanboy moment. And in retrospect, maybe I'm glad I didn't. But one thing that I did catch, and everybody in the studio caught, was Flavor Flav playing bass and piano, and that guy's a phenomenal musician. Like he's like I said, he's kind of this caricature of a human being, and he's this guy that's always sort of been in the background of Chuck D, occasionally screaming "yeah boy" at the top of his lungs. But that guy, make no mistake about it, is an unbelievably gifted musician. People don't necessarily get it, but yeah, a random guy attacked Flavor Flav at a Las Vegas casino. Yeah.
That's crazy.
I think Flav will probably want to press charges and see that the guy does time. If you're not familiar with Flavor Flav, he wears a giant clock around his neck.
I was trying to figure out if that's where you're going or not.
Yeah, pretty much. The other good thing was he was able to tell the police exactly when the attack took place.
Oh my God. That one's the better of the two.
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, I was building up to it. The first one was a bit of a red herring. Classic comedic misdirection. But I played with Public Enemy once, and it was just like one of the like I couldn't, and it was like it was a big bill. It was this festival in England, and Public Enemy were not anywhere near us on the bill, so they didn't get to see us play, and I wish they would have, but they didn't. And I remember we played, and then like an hour later, Public Enemy show up on site. I'm like, damn, Chuck D didn't see me and decided to take me under his wing. Dream is over. Oh well. But Flavor Flav was walking through this field, and it was so funny. It was so funny. And, like, fans were screaming at him, be like, Flavor, come over here. You know, they wanted to talk to him. They wanted to take pictures with him, all this stuff. And he holds up his clock. He's like, believe it or not, I don't got the time. I was just
oh my God.
It was so good. So
That's
good.
Awesome.
Yeah. What else?
Elton John has announced his farewell tour.
Yeah, I think he's still going to keep making music, but I don't know. Yeah, touring, I guess. Elton John's really old. How old is he now? Like, he's been around for a very long
70?
time.
Is he 70?
He's in his 70s, yeah. I mean, he's been around for a minute. You know what, Elton John? Also, Elton John, he's slowing down from touring, but you know, he's got other stuff that he does. You know, he's a manager.
I did not know that.
And you know who he manages?
No.
He manages that Ed Sheeran kid. Like, literally the biggest pop star in the world. Elton John is his manager. And people have asked him before, they're like, Elton John's your manager. Yeah, right, manager. And he's like, no, he really is. Like, well, do you ever speak to Elton John about what's going on in your career? He's like, yeah, pretty much every day. And he's like, he's not only one of the biggest artists of all time ever, he, as it turns out, is now one of the biggest music managers of all time. And I don't know who else he manages, but he looks after the career of Ed Sheeran, and that appears to be doing pretty well. And a lot of people would say that in and of itself is absolutely a full-time job. So there you go. Elton John has announced his farewell tour. I guess he finally realized that Saturday night, besides being all right for fighting, is also all right for staying in and watching an episode of NCIS or Matlock. Go on.
Ja Rule and 50 Cent continue the feud. Yes.
Ja Rule and 50 Cent are feuding? Like,
they are.
I mean, Ja Rule kind of had a thing there for a minute, then went to jail, and then got out, and it organized the most disastrous festival of all time ever, the Firefly Festival, I think it was called. It was that one where people went off to an island and none of the bands showed up, and they were basically, your luxury accommodation is waiting for you, and it was a FEMA tent, and it's like your gourmet meal is ready for you, and it was like a cheese sandwich with no mayo on it, like on white. You know, it was just like, what did that guy needs to work on himself before he goes after anyone, knowing nothing about the feud. Oh, wait, it's Ja Rule and 50 Cent. Oh, well, all right. Let me just step here. Let me just step in here and resolve this. Keynesian and neo-Malthusian are both valid in modern economic theories. You're both right. Go on.
All right. Margot Robbie was nominated for the Oscar for playing the part of Tanya Harding.
Oh, there you go. And in a related story, Meryl Streep just got clubbed in the kneecap.
The Super Bowl has rejected an ad that a veterans group wanted to put in the program about standing for the national anthem.
Yeah, we talked about this on the show a lot the other day. And you know what? The thing that I really liked about the ad that they wanted to run was that it used one very important word. It used the word please. It didn't say you're a traitor if you don't do this. It didn't say you hate America if you don't do this. It just said, please stand. From our perspective, we're veterans, please stand. But the NFL will not be putting it in the Super Bowl program. Instead, I think they're going to use that space for an ad asking Philadelphia Eagles fans to not punch any more horses after the game.
Leave the stimulation to the professionals.
Everyone is so smart.
KPRC, more stimulating talk radio.
There's something happening here, and you should know what it is. The dumbing up of America. Now, more AD on the radio.
So, like I said earlier, you're not necessarily going to see the long-term implications of this until we get into it and start talking about it, but I think this is a reason to be afraid. People can now fake very convincing celebrity porn videos. In case you missed it, people are now making very, very convincing fake celebrity porn videos using face swapping and AI technology, and you don't have to be a computer nerd to do it. There's at least one app out there that it makes it easy enough for about anyone. And on the one hand, it sounds kind of funny. Oh, wow. You know, like we've all seen celebrity porn where it's Jessica Alba's head pasted onto a picture and it's very unconvincing. It's a poor Photoshop job and you're not fooling anybody. But if you look at this, it genuinely looks like Jessica Alba has taken up XXX acting, and the authenticity of it is frightening for a number of reasons. We'll get into all this a little later on in the show. Right now, though, Travis, go lightly. Let's continue with the news.
Scientists in China have successfully cloned monkeys, and now people are asking where we go from here.
Really? Say that again. They've done what now?
They've successfully cloned monkeys, and now people are wondering where we go from there.
Well, call me short-sighted, but my mind immediately went to monkey roller derby. I don't know about you, but that's, No, the implications on that one are also truly staggering. What if you go to clone a monkey, though, Travis? What if you go to clone a monkey? Like, say you've got a pet monkey and you want to clone that monkey, and the monkey clone doesn't necessarily work out. It's a complicated process, and you have this cloned monkey and you paid all this money for this cloned monkey, but ultimately it's not the monkey that you wanted. It's not an effective clone. What then? Is there some sort of like contingency or backup plan or some sort of monkey back guarantee?
Oh my God. I'm sitting here literally thinking to myself, I don't know that I was ready for this question. I'm like, I really wish he had given me a heads up that he was going to ask me something like this. Like, I was panicking, and then you get to that. And,
I mean, like, but here's the thing. Wow. That's freaking nuts. That is absolutely crazy. But can they be sure? I mean, it's a monkey. Now, one monkey might be identical to another monkey, but can we really tell that this is a clone monkey? Like, what's the difference between a clone and a twin, besides the fact that they weren't born at the same time? But like,
the DNA is the difference. Now, from what I understand, and I could be completely wrong, I'm not a geneticist or whatever it would be, so please, don't take this for anything more than just a comment. But from what I understand, just because they're cloned doesn't mean that they're exactly the same when it comes to anything, because I guess so much behavior is learned behavior. So, just like you said, although it's a cloned monkey, it could end up being nothing like your, monkey number 1 and monkey number 2 could be very, very different, but they would have the same starting DNA is the concept, I believe.
When you clone something, is it like the period of pregnancy? Do they create an embryo and then implant it in a mother monkey? Like, how does that
That's a good question. I don't know. I would assume so, unless they're growing it out of a test tube, but I still think you would have to have some sort of, if it's developed in a test tube and then inserted into the monkey, I would assume it has to be carried.
They've got they've been cloning sheep for a while now.
Yeah,
I don't know. I like if it's for, I don't know. That's weird. Do you think that's like playing God? Like, say you've got like a sheep, and that sheep produces so much wool you can't even believe it. And you want, okay, this sheep is happy, this sheep is healthy, this sheep doesn't have, foot and mouth disease or whatever it is that usually plagues sheep that sheep farmers have to be worried about. Let's just clone this one healthy sheep. So we've got a wool providing healthy sheep that is happy and healthy all the time. Is that okay, or is that playing God? And is that the slippery slope that we're about to go down?
I think it's an undetermined. I think everyone will have a different opinion of it because you in the same sense you would have some people who are even religious who would say that, well, did God not give us the intelligence to be able to do this? So I mean, it's I don't know. It's really tough. I think the thing that's going to be really interesting is, and I think we're a long way from it, but I think that they've looked at the concept of cloning eventually when it comes to humans, of not really cloning an actual human, but cloning a body, like a headless body where you could grow organs to be able to serve as donor organs. So, I mean, that's the question, if you have a headless human with no, that's not alive, does it still have a soul? Does it still have human rights? I don't know. I mean, you're right. It's a slippery slope because
I know doctors that say we've already gone too far. Doctors that say modern medicine is now giving us as human beings the ability to live for longer than we were really kind of meant to live. And
yeah,
it's an interesting perspective, and maybe it's true, maybe it's not. I don't know, but it's, like I said, slippery slope, and you know that doesn't matter how ethically, morally, legally shaky this is, that there is someone out there working on cloning a human being right now.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And
this is not me being part of the... I didn't just finish listening to Alex Jones. Like, I do not have my tinfoil hat on today. I enjoy a good conspiracy theory as much as the next fellow, but you just know someone's doing this right now because, humans are naturally curious. Humans want to progress. Humans want to do new and different things all the time. Look at skateboarding. Look at what skateboarding started out as. Just, I don't know, in the 60s and 70s. Oh, look, I can do it sitting down on the skateboard. I can do it standing on one foot on the skateboard. I can do it standing on my hands on a skateboard. Cut to, I'm going to go down this 4-flight mega ramp, go hundreds and hundreds of feet in the air. And I'm this is why, the first ever backflip on the motorcycle was performed. This is why the first 4-minute mile was ever run. When Roger Bannister ran the 4-minute mile back in the day, people said it couldn't be done and it was insane. And now there's people want to progress. The human species is an aspirational thing that wants to do more and do better at all times. You can't get around that. And for that reason, there's somebody in a lab right now trying to clone a human. I guarantee it.
Oh, I guarantee it as well, which brings us to the next headline that I was about to read, which is, scientists say that the successful cloning of monkeys could be the next step towards cloning humans.
Uncomfortable.
So it's like you're reading my mind at this point.
Yeah. When asked what they've learned so far, the monkey cloning scientist said, mostly how to dodge a lot of poop, but we're working on the human clones.
All right. U.S. credit card debt has hit a record high.
Do you have a lot of credit card debt? Well, you don't have to answer that. That's sort of a personal question.
No, I have no, there are no personal questions. No, I do not. Thank God.
Do you have any?
Credit card debt? I think I have $5,000, which, don't get me wrong, I've got $5,000 in my bank account that I can pay it off, and I think I'm getting $5,000 or more back on my taxes. So I would be smart to pay it off, and I probably will. It's I'm careful about credit cards. Are so weird that I don't want to do anything silly. I'm one of those people that I will literally put all of my purchases on a credit card. For the points or whatever, just like we were talking about with the black card. It's just easier for me, and then I make the payment and I pay it off every month. So, I've got a $5,000 balance on my American Express card right now, and for whatever reason, I'm trying to remember why I didn't pay it off last month, so I'll probably pay it off this month.
Dude, I have a couple of credit cards, and I don't have a balance on any of them. I'll never forget when I just showed up in America. I was this teenager in a band, and how old do you have to be to get a credit card? 18?
I would assume 18.
Because they sign college kids up for them, right? Lickety split. Because I remember being at Macy's or Bloomingdale's or something like that when people still went to department stores, and I was shopping for like a cousin's wedding gift, and they're like, "Do you want to apply for a credit card?" I'm like, "What?" And they're like, "A credit card. You'll get a discount on this." I was like, "Okay." And they're like, "What's your credit like?" I was like, "I don't know. I just showed up from another country." And they're like, "You got approved lickety split." And it was interesting. I did get approved lickety split because I had no credit history, but that meant I had no negative credit history. And so I got a department store credit card. Very rock and roll for a kid in a band. I have a Bloomingdale's card. But immediately I got sort of like, a billion different invites to sign up for other credit cards. I was like, "Oh, cool, this is easy." And then I remember when I got into a little bit of financial trouble, and I couldn't pay off my credit card. And it was just a little bit here and there. And all of a sudden I'm like a 21-year-old with over $10,000 in credit card debt. And holy freaking geez, it was an unpleasant experience getting out from underneath that. And every part of me wanted to declare bankruptcy at 21, just because, when you're 21 years old, I don't know how you were doing financially at age 21, but I didn't think that I would ever see enough money to pay that thing off in my life ever. I'm a struggling musician. This is not gonna happen. But I did, and it took so much sort of like effort and heavy lifting that ever since then, I've got credit cards. I never carry a balance on them ever. I do. Okay, so I pay off the statement every single month because, as I found out, when you go to apply for a mortgage, you need to have some form of revolving credit. Like if your statement balance is $5,000 and the full amount on your credit card is $5,002, well, you're going to pay off that $5,000 and leave the $2 on it because that gives you revolving credit, and you need that when you need that when you're going to buy a house. It's a weird thing. They need you to be at least a little bit in debt some of the time, but I pay off every statement in full. And maybe at some point there'll come a tough month where I can't do that, but I would rather live on bread and water for a month than go into debt ever again on a credit card. It's freaking bananas. And it's a really sad thing to hear that U.S. credit card debt has hit a record high. I wonder if it comes from the fact that this debt exists primarily in places where the cost of living is astronomical. Because you talk to people in California where the taxes are ridiculous and the cost of living is ridiculous, and people have really good jobs and credit card debt and about $23 in their checking account at any time. Like, they're making amounts of money that they'd be totally fine with in other parts of the world, but because they live by the ocean, they're destitute. And if they lose their job, they're going to be out on the street in no time flat. And everybody I know that I've talked to about this in California has credit card debt, especially if they've got kids. You're not going to deny your kids something, so you're going to rack up the debt. And that's a really sad thing and kind of a terrifying thing to think that the credit card debt has hit a record high in America. And if you can get out from underneath that, please do it. It's just so much better for everyone. Primarily you, but for everyone, really. Go on.
Fire and Fury author Michael Wolff says he's absolutely sure that Donald Trump is having an affair in the White House.
Yeah, with a bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken. I don't think. I would imagine he probably did go. He probably goes and does all of his clandestine stuffing at Mar-a-Lago. I don't think he actually does. Yeah, and you know what? Who cares? I think I don't know if every president has had an affair. Like, the idea of a president, infidelity, it's amazing. It's amazing how this is a thing. I don't approve of it. It's absolutely the wrong thing to do. But you know what? It doesn't really affect our daily lives in terms of having the country run. Like, I have other concerns about Donald Trump that have nothing to do with whether or not he's faithful to Melania. That is absolute bottom of my list. I can't believe people care about it. Am I wrong here? Do I sound, cold, unfeeling, uncaring, and like I'm willing to let the moral fabric of America go to hell because I don't mind the idea that our president is having an affair?
No, I don't think so, but I think there's plenty of people who probably do care, which is odd for me because I don't care, but I agree with you. But people do care for whatever reason. At least some of them do. I don't know.
I guess if that's true, there goes his A+ from the American Evangelical Association that he just got on the religious report card. This is an actual thing. This is a thing. He got an A+ rating from what was it? The Evangelical? I can't remember. Some organization gave him a religious A+. So I guess he could lose that if it turns out that. What did we say yesterday? Probably has something to do with all his missionary work, specifically that which he did with Stormy Daniels. Okay, go on.
Queen Elizabeth is trying to mend fractured relations with Zimbabwe.
In other news involving Queens of England, Elton John announced his farewell tour, as we were talking about earlier.